Welcome, everybody, to episode 148 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Russell Gibson and Adam Amy. Oh my God, the NBA Finals almost passed us by.
That's all right. We didn't get an episode in before it finished. So
oh my goodness. It was like, oh yeah, game one's on in a couple of days. It'd be all right. And then, I don't know. Lucky Scott Foster was refereeing game 4 is all I can say.
I mean, I do love a good conspiracy. You all know that, but let's be honest, Scott Foster didn't make a difference in game 4. It was a couple of Mavericks moving their feet. That was amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, or a few slow Celtics. What are the other? It was, yeah. Interesting finals, hey.
I've really been enjoying it so far. I'm not going to lie to you, but at the same time, it has been a little bit one-sided to a certain Boston team. So, anyway,
yeah.
We're going to deep dive into this a little bit. Hey, I'm going to segue just straight away, Ad, because
straight off the bat,
I want to give a shout out to the Australian Girls Choir, and in particular the novice group, which my daughter is in. We went to their performance today, and for what these 5-year-olds lacked in talent, they very much made up with enthusiasm and cuteness, and it was a very, very enjoyable experience. And then to see the bigger girls, which is not really the right thing to say, they're grown women, come out and perform for everybody. They're just insanely talented and just had a really fantastic day. So I've had a very proud dad moment today.
Nice.
And I definitely wanted to share that with instead of talking about the weather, I thought I could talk about
very unique segue.
I think after 145 or so, 148 episodes, it's okay to have, one small proud dad moment, isn't it?
You're welcome to have proud dad moments every episode.
No, we don't need that. Just once in every 148 episodes, I can have a proud dad moment.
I had a proud dad moment in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, like what?
My boy Derek White stepping up, killing it for the Boston Celtics.
You're his dad? This is getting awkward, man.
This is going to get really awkward really fast. So let's go back to the actual run.
Yeah, let's get back to it. All right, so the rundown for today's game, what we're going to do is there's actually 4 games for us to break down. That's how long it's been since we've podcasted, and also how the schedule's broken for us. So what we're going to do is we're each going to have a turn of putting forward 1 or 2 thoughts about each game, and then we're going to talk about 1 or 2 players each for each game. And then we'll go through each game chronologically. So if you'd like to open up the proceedings, Adam, with game 1, what were your takeaways from game 1?
My takeaways from game 1 was this was a reality check how good the Celtics were.
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis was literally the difference between the two teams. The Celtics won by 19. Porzingis scored 20 points. Like, he was literally the difference. In game 1, they had no answer for him. And yeah, it's like Luka came to play and Kyrie didn't. That was my other takeaway from the Dallas side of things.
Yeah.
Simple game 1 there.
Yep. Game 1, Celtics 107, Mavericks 89. So either you have an amazing memory or you had the point differential written down. Either way, I'm impressed, mate.
I made a comment to somebody saying that Porzingis was literally the difference. So I remember.
Aha, right. Okay. That's how you remember it. Anyway, well done. That's very good. Just for listeners at home, Adam and I haven't shared our notes because we want it to be more spontaneous. And Porzingis was the first thing that I had listed in mind. But my Porzingis take, I'll just add to yours. So I think we all need to remember that Porzingis is an insanely talented guy, but the issue with this fella is the injury history, right? I think we've had the Porzingis special in this series already. So game 1 and 2, he suited up, and then halfway through game 2, he injured himself.
Yeah.
Took game 3 off, and then he was back for game 4, which is probably the most Porzingis thing that we can do. I think the other thing we need to remember too, from the team building perspective, he was essentially traded for Robert Williams. So it was just an absolute home run in terms of upgrading their talent there. And everything you said, I agree with. He was just absolutely amazing. So he played 20 minutes. He was 8 of 13 from the floor, 6 rebounds and 3 blocks. And that was probably the thing that I thought, yes, his shooting was impactful. Like, of course it was. But defensively, he really gave them a lot of troubles. And interestingly, his 3 blocks, I probably counted 5. So I think sometimes, the statistics don't always play out exactly how you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So the other note I made too was that the Celtics were wearing the Bill Walton t-shirt. So I think in a very respectful way, RIP Bill Walton, and we've all got our Bill Walton memory. What's your favorite Bill Walton memory, Ad?
I don't really have a Bill Walton memory.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was never really like not a major memory.
Yeah.
That sounds very one dimensional from my Lakers centric view of basketball history. But yeah,
No, not at all. So I think my Walton memory is the commentary. That was my first introduction to him because he had a
mm.
very particular voice and also commentary style, and he was a bit of an eccentric dude, which I like that. And he had that real back and forth with Snapper Mark Jones. Do you remember that when
Oh,
they did the
yeah,
NBC
yeah,
games? Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It
so
was,
that was my introduction to him. And then I think as I sort of started to learn more about NBA history, then he was
yeah,
involved with those Portland Trailblazer teams where he was essentially the not the godfather, but he was part of the beautiful game concept of the person who taught Nikola Jokic how to play basketball. And so I love all that type of
yeah.
stuff and passing big men and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my
Big mentor for the game.
yeah.
Literally a mentor for the game.
Alrighty, so card wise for game one, I've got Luka Doncic down, and I think you've already touched on this, his performance. But I think for me, the really interesting part about the cards is what you would expect is that he would be up, and he'd be up a lot because we're heading into the finals. But if you go to his silver PSA 10 history, you
Hmm.
look at the last 3 months, he's only up 1.9%. But if you look at the graph, it's a steep upward and a steep downward. Now, if you zoom into the last 2 weeks, he's actually minus 36%. So he has had a huge drop off around this. So we're, we're
Wow.
going to talk about this again with Jayson Tatum, and then later in the
Mm.
podcast, time dependent, we're going to do a listener question, which is basically, leading to this. And this is not the first time we've actually observed this. We've had previous years where we've said, oh, let's hold on to these cards and sell them at this time because this is a good time to sell it. But I think this is not the first time I've said this, but now I'm solidifying this thought process. I think what happens is the market gets flooded. So everyone else has this crazy good idea that you have. Okay, let's
Yeah.
hold on to these cards for the right time. But then also what happens is there's a lot more of them for sale. So Luka peaked at 1.8 thousand and his last sale was 1.2k. So, look, I do think this is probably going to be a sub 1000 card again. That's my gut feeling on this because big dogs like Luka, people do sort of tend to come in and come out on them. In saying that, I have a lot of trouble seeing the floor go less than $900 on this, particularly he has played really well, but they just haven't had the team success there. So, what's your card for game one?
Well, I was just going to go with Kristaps.
Yeah, do that. That's an
Given
awesome one. Yeah,
given that he's actually he hasn't really played a lot since game one, so we're
yeah,
probably not going to talk about him again. His silver PSA 10 last sold $152.50,
yeah,
actually, which is a bit of a drop in recent times. I've got the
yeah,
6 months data up, but it's sort of taken a bit of it had gone as high as 190 US
yeah, sure.
recently. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, bit of a drop off there over 152.
In the last 12 months, what's his overall tracking?
It's a roller coaster.
Okay.
It's actually
Up and down.
up
What's the
down.
aggregate though? Because it tells you.
Yep. Starting price 149, current price 150, average price was 145.
Okay. So he's basically in 12 months
Yeah.
hasn't moved at all. Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
Low
I actually
price
thought
of
he would have been.
77, high price of 200. So I'm
Yeah,
talking
right. So it really
real
does
roller
depend on when
coaster.
you bought that card. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have thought over the last 12 months he'd be up overall about 10%. That would have been my guess.
6 months he's up 22%.
Okay.
1 year he's only up 2%.
Yeah.
2 years he's down 50%.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, obviously Porzingis, that the 2 year data is, the sale 2 years ago was like $325. When was that?
Yeah.
Was that when he went to Dallas?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, so he went Dallas to Washington, didn't he?
Yeah, to Washington to
Yeah.
Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Porzingis. Yeah, he was definitely he's my highlight for game one. He just was the difference. Like Boston are a good unit, and I think that's one of the things that come to was glaringly obvious how well spread and how balanced a team they are. They're a deep team. Their 1-6 is better than Dallas's 1-6.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
And
it's 3 versus 7. That's how I feel about this series already.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Game 2, Celtics 107, Mavericks 89. Jayson Tatum is my highlight player from this game. 6 of 22 from the field, 9 rebounds, 12 assists.
Yep.
1 steal, 3 turnovers, and 18 points. This is, for me, a really funny one because you might say, well, why am I highlighting this game when he was 6 from 22? But actually, this is probably my favorite Jayson Tatum game of the series so far because I think one thing I love about basketball is when you can impact the game without scoring. And obviously, he took a lot of shots and he should have made a couple more. Like, that's not really what I'm getting to.
Sure.
However, the 12 assists for me was absolutely, amazing.
He
and also,
switched it
too,
up. Yeah.
the box score doesn't always capture everything. Like, defensively, he was, again, very good.
He was great.
And then 9 rebounds again. That's a very strong
He was one
line.
rebound off a triple-double.
Yeah. And so, I really love that a lot. And I think if you're contrasting Luka to Tatum, this is where you take that box score and you say, well, look, this is what Luka can't do. He can't defend. He does rebound pretty well, but Luka hadn't had 12 assists in the first game. In fact, if we can just backtrack a little bit to game 1, when Luka only had 1 assist, and actually I had to go back and watch game 1 and work out how the Celtics actually did that to them because I just didn't understand how they basically played so perfectly on defense. And so I completely skipped this from the game 1 breakdown. Anyway, let's just backtrack a little bit. So basically what they did was, this is my amateur breakdown of the Celtics D. They basically switched every pick and roll, and then the help only came off very particular players. And actually in game 1, they played very little help defense at all. It was all like just about all 1-on-1. If you go back and watch it, it's almost like a masterclass. And then they were so particular about the people that they helped off that they were only leaving open the shooters that they wanted to. It was just really, really good defensive execution. Yeah. And that's why Luka only had 1 assist, because he had no one to pass the ball up to lobs. And then when he was passing to shooters, they were the shooters that the Celtics wanted to be shooting. So, yeah. And look, so that's probably a good little contrast of the two guys of, where they're at. And I think we're going to go into one of your very famous quotes in a second down the run sheet here. But Luka does have to get better, and he does have to get better defensively. And then
he also needs the people around him to sort of step up as well. Luka can't do it all.
He can't do it all, but you can actually see the areas where he has to improve. And I think if we're being honest about it, he hasn't, particularly in games 3 and 4, we're skipping ahead a little bit here, but there was a few possessions where he didn't even try and defend. He was just doing the whole Matador thing. Yeah.
Yep, it's true.
And I don't think you can compare Luka's body to Tatum's, because obviously they're two different athletes, but it does seem like Luka could still has some gains in that sort of athleticism / conditioning department too.
I tell you what, for those playing at home, I'm about to defend Luka Doncic.
Okay, go.
Don't get used to it.
Yeah.
I reckon he was nursing a cracked rib or something. He had padding on his chest at the beginning of game 2. It looked like he was being warmed.
Oh, so that's confirmed. Yeah, so that's
is
confirmed.
It a cracked rib?
Well, it's confirmed that he's been having painkilling injections into that area.
Yeah.
And they haven't actually said if it's a cracked rib or it's strained muscles around the ribs, but basically that's what they're
so the amount of pain he was in for game 2, you could see it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying that excuses his lack of defensive effort, but that's going to make his ability to exert himself somewhat difficult. But I think.
So you think it's a fatigue thing of why he's playing?
I do. I actually. He realizes the stakes they're playing for. This is the playoffs. This isn't the regular season where you can watch plays happen and go, you know what, we'll just win the next one kind of thing.
Yeah,
this is the
This is
playoff. I think he knows the stakes. It was not long from the national anthem happening in game 2, and they were padding him up, trying to protect or warm those ribs.
Yeah.
Minutes from the game, minutes before tip-off. It was wow, okay, that's that must be a serious injury to keep him sort of nursed up like that.
Yeah, sure.
But that said, you've got, if you're the coach and you know that your star player is cooked like that, you've got to make some adjustments, don't you?
Yeah.
And the adjustment can't be Luka will get it done.
I agree with that. Actually, I think the ball should have started with Kyrie a little bit more. If you do know the guy's that banged up, why aren't you starting sets with someone else? And let's be honest, Kyrie can still create offense.
Well, yes. And my big criticism of the Mavericks, which funnily enough wasn't Luka for games 1 and 2, was Kyrie. Kyrie went missing.
Yeah.
And this is the playoffs. This is the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no time to go missing. And look, I mean, that's my big summary of games 1 and 2. Is it just seemed like the Celtics have the deeper team. They've got the better people around their stars.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we should do is we'll take a break. And then when we come back from the break, we'll continue our breakdown of game 2 because I've still got a little bit more to touch on.
Perfect.
Thank you very much to the Hobby Hangout for supporting us. We can't be thankful enough for all of the support you've been giving to us. Hobby Hangout was in Sydney today.
Yes.
So that's done and dusted. So looking forward to the next one, the 30th of June, which is going to be at the Melbourne Pavilion. We'll be there podcasting. We've got Lane Pierce doing some workshops. We've got the panel headed by Matthew Payne. We've got the boys from Double Coverage. They'll be podcasting too. So a bit of podcast battle happening, Adam.
Nice. Looking
For
forward
local
to it.
supremacy, yeah. Trading zones will be there, of course. And then we've got a whole bunch of stalls there. So in no random order, or should I say in total random order, Card Slab, Fire Spin Collectibles, Shiny Cards Traders, Bayside Collectibles, Rocket Collectibles, Peter's Goat Cards. That's a funny one. Luna Card, Palms Off Gaming, Eastside Collectibles Support, Fast Break. The boys at Fast Break will be there. Collector Space and J Swish Collectibles. Tickets at thehobbyhangout.com.au. Don't forget the AU, Russ. And you'll be directed there to where you can buy tickets for that great event. 30th of June, Melbourne Pavilion. Thank you to the team at the Hobby Hangout for your support. Alrighty, we're back.
We're back.
We're back for part 2. Alrighty, so Jayson Tatum was my note. So let's talk a little bit of Jayson Tatum cards. Now, this is the exact same picture that we just painted for Luka Doncic is actually happened for Jayson Tatum. So the last 3 months, he's down 10%. The last 2 weeks, he's down nearly 20%. He's down 17%. So what I'm putting to you here now, Ad, is that his last sold price is $805. Still, what, $400 cheaper than a Luka? Population on this is 874. So again, there's a lot less of these than the Lukas. Is this a better buy than a Luka? Because, without going out on too much of a limb, statistically, for a team to come back from a 3-0 deficit, it's never been done in the finals. I think it's pretty safe to say the Celtics are going to win the championship this year, with Jayson Tatum being their go-to guy. I'm not saying he's their best player. I think there's been a lot of media speculation being said about that already, but he's definitely their go-to guy. What do you think?
I think
$805.
At 800, I think Tatum's a buy.
Yeah.
Look at the pop count; it's under 1,000. There's so many upsides to this card.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all there. Yeah. There's no, I can't really, mince my words with it. It's a buy.
So my only thought about this, and I don't disagree with what you just said, this is more of a big picture, like far zoomed out thought bubble now, but we've had a lot of downward movement in the hobby in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one really knows where the bottom is.
This is true.
So where I'm going with this is, what I worry about with all this unnumbered stuff is this, in my opinion, this is the stuff that will slide first. So if you're going to spend 800 USD, should you be getting something numbered? That's my only sort of added to this. And so let's just say that your budget's $800. Like, that's totally fine. Do you just try and get, I'm just doing this really quickly now, a BGS 9 of the blue numbered to 199, last sold, it was a long time ago, it was $750. Actually, it was July of last year. It's not that long ago. The pop on that's $39. I'm looking
at the PSA 10 of the blue, and it's 2,000 US.
So that's a lot, but
PSA 10. Yeah,
I think the compromise there, though, is you'd have to, if you want to keep to that specific budget, you do have to like drop your grade.
Drop your grade a bit. Okay, so PSA 9 last sold in April this year for $670.
Oh, for $670. Okay, I'm totally fine
Pop
with that.
69. Yeah. I'm definitely okay with that.
I think this is a bigger conversation for another day, but I'm worrying about this more and more, to be honest with you. This sort of unnumbered high population stuff, we're not really sure exactly where the bottom is. So,
is silver concerning because it's such high population now?
Absolutely, and not so much in the Tatum stuff, but you know.
Yeah, no. So what I'm getting at is, so the top's chrome, So there's the tops, then there's tops chrome,
Yeah.
and then there's tops chrome refractor, right?
Yeah.
The refractors are rare as hen's teeth. But the tops chrome, say, I'll use Kobe or a LeBron as the example. They're the ones with those mid-ish population counts. Like the Kobe's at the tops chrome BGS 9.5 is, I think it's 500 and something is the pop count.
Sure. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
I'm going to look this up and speak factually. How's that?
Sure.
But the point I'm making is the pop count becoming the problem? So the Topps Chrome PSA 10 population is 837. Not the refractor, just the base Topps Chrome. BGS 9.5, 744. That's not the refractor, that's the base.
Yeah. It's a much older card. What you could do is to give yourself sort of some reassurances is look back pre-COVID and sort of look at the prices then and maybe add 4 or 5% per year and say maybe that's a more conservative number of what you should be paying for something.
Yeah.
And if it's in ballpark of that, then maybe it's okay. That's okay.
Average price over the last 2 years has been 2,500 of the Kobe, and that's got a population of 7 close. Sorry, that's BGS 9.5.
It is a bit muddier when we're comparing cards of different eras, particularly with BGS when it was such a powerhouse at that time.
But I'm saying based on pop count, the Tatum is comparable for that in that realm.
Yeah, I think I've introduced too big of a thought bubble for this show. I think we leave this for another day.
Yeah, agree.
Because otherwise we're not going to get through the rest of the games.
That's all right.
Game 2, my other takeaway was Jrue Holiday, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Putting aside all of the numbers, his defense was just amazing. And that was probably the part that I enjoyed the most. Now, Jrue Holiday is one of these weird players who is not on card ladder, so it is a little bit tricky. I did find some interesting pieces, and all of these I'm going to put down as bias before I even say it. 2009-10 Threads rookie class letter. So that's the one where it's just like a fabric letter with the autograph on it.
Yeah.
Numbered to 630. That sold for 43 USD.
Yes.
Jrue Holiday Gold, numbered to 2009. SGC 8, that sold for $45. The Jrue Holiday, it's being called a logo man, but it's not a true logo man. It's just the logo off the shorts or whatever. 6 out of 10 with an autograph on it, 140 USD. And then this amazing Philadelphia 76ers, again, fabric logo with autograph, numbered to 449, $137. All of those, I think, is like strong buy. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't think. I think Jrue could drop 50, and it's not going to move the needle on his card prices.
Definitely not. But at the same time,
it's pretty cool,
I think,
though.
Yeah, he's a really good guy to buy.
He's outplaying Kyrie. He was outplaying Kyrie by the end of game 2. It was like, well, yeah, Jrue was sort of a throw-in at Boston.
Yeah. Wow.
Jrue.
I think they really wanted
They
him.
targeted, but what I mean is he was... Did they really think he was going to, after that trade from the part of the Lillard trade, he was going to stay put where he was? Because he ended up in Portland. Is that where he got away from? Anyway.
Do you think that
Milwaukee
Jrue Holiday's management thought he was going to stay in the Blazers?
I don't know. Whoever, or like Milwaukee wouldn't want someone like Jrue Holiday in the Eastern Conference. So they traded him off to the West. He ends up back in the East playing for Boston. It's like, we've just ruined your chance at a finals campaign.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Alrighty. Game 3, Celtics 106, Mavs 99. I'm calling this game the one that got away for the Mavs. So,
Yep.
This is a game of swings. The Mavericks were up 13 early. Boston got up by 21, and then with just 3.5 minutes left, it was only a 3-point differential. So if you are going to go back and watch one game, Game 3 is the game to watch. That was just an amazing game. And I think the other thing we need to slip in here, Adam, is RIP to Jerry West. So the logo, much respect and love out to the family of Jerry West. And I think we should really quickly touch on some Jerry West cards, again, just out of respect to him. So the 1961 Fleer Jerry West, PSA 9, population of 28, last sold for $68,760. And what we were talking about off air, Ad, was how there's been a lot of Jerry West sales post his death, and how some of the card forum groups, so NCM in Australia is probably one of the bigger ones, they actually restricted all Jerry West sales for a week.
Yeah.
I
Just
was
more
saying
of
to you off air that I'm in a funny place about this because actually for Bill Walton, Jerry West's passing, I was actually looking for their cards after they passed. So I
yeah.
kind of get why people do put sales up, and I also understand why people are buying cards.
Mm.
I think you were touching on the whole ethics of it, and you had some thoughts around that.
Yeah, it's a time and a place thing, right? It's on the day of a great's passing.
Yeah,
Sure, you can have the oh crap, I wanted to buy one of his cards, but there's a lot of tribute posts.
yeah,
There's a lot of, I suppose, grieving amongst the NBA community.
yeah,
People are trying to remember highlights from Jerry West's career.
yeah,
They're playing clips, they're playing tributes, and to have people's news feeds clogged up with sales threads, trying to, and I know there are people looking to buy, so that's why there are people looking to sell. But
yeah.
it's like, can we have a moment so that we can pay our respects?
Yeah,
Um,
I think the ethics part around it too is that people will double the price because someone's passed away.
yeah,
So there were stories about when Bill Russell passed away. There was a card show in America, and people were literally taking out Bill Russell autographs from their shelves,
mm,
doubling the price, and then putting them straight back on for into the display. So I think that's the same type of thing that's happening
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Do you have any Jerry West memories?
Just the argument I constantly have with some of my high school friends about who the greatest shooting guard in uh, in Lakers history is, because obviously my favorite guard was the late great Kobe Bryant,
Yeah,
and yeah, like Jerry West is, I think, often forgotten by younger generations as well
yeah.
about how good he really was. But obviously, recency bias, I still have Kobe ranked as number one.
It's pretty hard if you go back and watch some of those old games. Like
Yeah.
there is footage now available pretty readily, not
Mm.
difficult to find.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a different game. It's polar opposite. So I understand why people do struggle with those arguments.
Yep.
So actually, my favorite Jerry West memory is him coming into Memphis and just organizing that team and actually building a team that was decent. They made the playoffs a couple of times. You know, Paul
Yep.
Gasol was there, Mike Miller was there. I liked those teams. I thought they were really good, and that's I think because they were such a train wreck at the time. That was my recollection. Was like, I think they were so bad they moved them from Vancouver to Memphis,
Oh god, that's it.
right?
Yep.
So that's my memory. I'm shocked that you didn't bring up him drafting Kobe.
I was gonna say that's probably the Jerry West moment, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he was the one that orchestrated that lovely trade for, was it Vladdy Divac?
Yeah.
Yeah, sent him to New Orleans, and
That's a bigger heist than Trey Young for Luka, really.
it's pretty much, yeah, it was a bit of a heist, but yeah, and Jerry's comments were so humble at the time. He's like, I think we just got the best player in the draft. And he wasn't wrong, but yeah, it was a visionary, that's for sure. On the court, he was amazing, phenomenal. Uh, Probably the reason LeBron didn't get Finals MVP, and the reason Kawhi and Andre Iguodala got them in the years that they did, because Jerry West, yeah, winning a Finals MVP in a losing championship.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. So
Let's have a break and we'll come back with our continued breakdown from game 3. The Bangman. Thank you, Team Bangman, for your ongoing support. The May Bronze Edition. I haven't seen any June editions up, so let's keep running with this May Bronze Edition ad. 21-22 Prism Sallow Pack, 23-24 Prism Blaster Pack, 21-22 Mosaic Fanatics, 21-22 Optic Teemo, 20-21 Flux Blaster, 21-22 Select Teemo Pack, 22-23 Select Fanatics Blaster Pack, 1920 Hoops Premium. This is a mouthful, Amir. This is huge. 22-23 Hoops Blaster Pack, 1920 Chronicles Blaster Pack. All of that, plus sleeves and top loaders delivered to your home for just $129. Pay ID, PayPal, Afterpay, ZipPay. Amir has got it all. Reach out to Amir and Team Bangman on Facebook and Instagram. They will hook you up. straight away. So thank you so much for your support, Team Bangman. Alrighty, we're back. Game 3. Let's continue with some breakdown. What else have you got for us, Ad?
Game 3. I wasn't actually paying attention to the box score very much. I was surprised. I thought, all right, well, Boston's gonna get the brooms out and that's it. And then they made this run, and I said, well, maybe they're human. Bit disappointing the way it finished. I think that's all I can say is it's a bit disappointing the way it finished.
All right, so I've got 2 questions for you. What do you think fueled Boston's comeback? Who were the key players in that?
The key,
and we haven't spoken about one of the keys for me in Game 3 at all. We haven't even mentioned his name this series.
We haven't mentioned his name. I was going to say Kyrie caught fire.
Yeah, okay.
That was Kyrie came to play. I'd been criticizing him for the first 2 games, saying he didn't show up and that was all going to happen. Yeah.
Alrighty, so for me, Jaylen Brown was like a really big part of that. I think his defense really fueled them going back the other way. And again, Jrue Holiday was just amazing. So I'm actually surprised we haven't spoken about Jaylen Brown yet. So Game 3, he was 12 of 22, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block. I thought he played really, really well. And then I think the other funny thing for us to talk about too is that Luka fouled out. So generally you associate fouls with defensive effort. Do you think that Luka actually tried to play a little bit more D, or is it just he was just like behind the play? So
I think he was frustrated and trying, yeah.
Now, we talk about conspiracy theories a little bit here. Now, they had multiple times to keep Luka in the game. They could have just called that a straight block on that last foul. Then the Mavericks staff wanted the play reviewed. They could have said, okay, fine. It's a block. Let's leave Luka out there. They didn't. They fouled him out. I was shocked about that. I was like, they cannot call this.
Yeah. That was really bad.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it was just
that really silences a lot of these conspiracy theory chirping birds, though. For me, that was like the really big one.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I feel like the Celtics. It was the first time we've seen both Brown and Tatum take control of a game.
Yeah,
I'm talking in the first 3 quarters. I'm not talking the last quarter where they had to hold it together. But it was nice to see both of them firing.
Yeah.
Given consistency, I think game 3 is where Jaylen Brown put his hand up and said, "I'm winning Finals MVP." I think it's a standout now that Jaylen Brown will be more than likely our Finals MVP.
Who's the best player in the Celtics in your mind?
But it's Derek White, surely. Surely he's averaging double figures through the whole playoffs. Look at his stats: 16 points in Game 3, 18 points in Game 2, 15 points in Game 1. Anyway, I think Jaylen Brown. I've said Jaylen Brown for a very long time. Okay. I think he's a little bit older. Is he one or like? Sorry, he was drafted a season or 2
1
earlier
year.
as well. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think Brown's just that little bit more experienced. He probably has the smarter head on his shoulders. Tatum might have the highest ceiling, but I don't know. I think Jaylen Brown is actually quite an underrated player. Yeah. Not financially. He got paid a record contract, so
yeah.
He got paid.
Yeah, you've just touched on a few things that I think is really important here. So in my mind, the go-to guy is Jayson Tatum.
Yes.
Like you can't tell me that Jaylen Brown's a better go-to guy. And so I think that simplifies a lot of things. So obviously they want the ball in Tatum's hand in the key moments and for more playmaking opportunities. That's fine. But I think the thing that the Celtics do really well is those two coexist in a really cohesive way. And I think one thing that is really obvious to me is that they can do different things, really well. Like one is a bit more finesse and one is a bit more bullish, one is a bit more skillful and another one is a bit more sort of erratic, and I think actually that works really well. And then also too, the way that they defend, I think they just sort of play each other, really well.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I actually think the pairing's really interesting. And Shaq was speaking about that on one of his post-game shows. And he was literally giving him like sort of sage advice. Like, don't worry about who's number one and who's number two. Don't listen to the media talk about that. And he was like,
don't listen to Jayson Kidd do that.
Yeah, he was alluding to like him and Kobe and their relationship. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, just, one person gets 39, one person gets 40 points. Like, it's okay. It's all good. And I think they've got that worked out already. I think those two are on a really good spot. So
I thought Jayson Kidd had gotten their head actually after game. It was a game one. There was that press conference where it was like,
he's not Phil Jackson, Jayson Kidd.
But Jayson Kidd in the conference was talking about Jaylen Brown being the number one guy, trying to get in Tatum's head.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked for a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, we have to talk about Jaylen Brown's cards because actually this is really cool. So the last 12 months, he's actually up 42%. So he's had a massive rise. His last sale is actually down a little bit, his last couple of sales, but his last sale was 394 USD.
Yeah.
If you zoom into the last 3 months, he's on a very steep uphill. He's actually up 71%. So look, I don't have a problem with this at that number. Whether it's a buy, hold, or sell, I actually think this is a more compelling argument right now because he's had a big rise. So, you are worried about that sort of, dripping off a little bit. But I think his long-term viability in the hobby is now established because he's a very, very good number two. You could argue like a Jamal Murray, maybe a bit higher in that sort of status level on a championship team. And they're still young enough to make another run, and they've got a really good team around them. I think that Boston team's going to be good for at least 3 more years. Like the only person they got sort of two oldies, Horford and Jrue Holiday. Yeah, I think they can work around that. They'll sort.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine with that. They've got a good call.
My other notes from Game 3 was obviously Porzingis was out for that game. Gafford started over Lively, and we had a Xavier Tillman sighting, which just made me enraged that the Celtics picked him up for nothing. So Game 4, I've titled this the blowout game. So not too sure how long we're going to talk about this one, Ad, but not a lot to say. The Mavericks showed up to play. They didn't want to get swept, and that was obvious from the start to me. They were just like at 110%.
So I'm just checking the box score now. It was Scott Foster was the referee? Is that right?
Yeah, sure. So again, let's talk about conspiracies, right? Because that's what you're touching on. Scott Foster had nothing to do with the outcome of this game, right? Like, if you wanted a conspiracy, that was Game 3 when they chose to foul Luka out. They kept him in the game. That's the conspiracy, right?
Yeah. You're right. You're very right.
So I can't believe I'm talking people out of conspiracies. I'm more trying to talk people into them. But I just can't do it for this one.
That's all right. It's just data gathering.
So do you know what I love about professional sports is that
you wait for the Netflix special to come out.
But if the Mavs can play with this in Game 4, why didn't they do this in Game 1, 2, and 3? Like, that's kind of the stuff I love about the sports psychology part.
How did they get into this headset and all of a sudden just dominate?
They were just so desperate. They just played their absolute hearts out, and that was the outcome. I love that stuff.
Did the Celtics come out in Game 4 and go, you know what, let's have some fun tonight and go and win this thing in Boston?
That could have been part of it too. They just expected the Mavs to roll over and they didn't. And there is a slight argument for that. I definitely did see sort of an element of that, but man, they came out and they played hard.
They waved the white flag very early. It was.
I'm okay with that, by the way, too. That's Greg Popovich-esque.
Yeah, but the reason I've said since the beginning of it with predictions is the Celtics in 5 is they get the first 2 games on their home court. They win one of these away games in Dallas, and then they win it on their home floor.
Yeah.
It makes sense mathematically. Like, why would you go hard to win on the Dallas floor, especially with Porzingis not quite there? And he was available for Game 4 in limited circumstances. Like, they didn't want to overplay him. He was available, but didn't play.
Okay.
So didn't start. Horford got the start. You reckon he'll play Game 5?
I would say 100%.
I reckon they'll all get to play in Game 5 when they're celebrating. Party time.
Alrighty, so my takeaway from this is Derek Lively. So we spoke about in Game 3 how that was the first change that the Mavericks made in terms of their lineup.
Yep.
I've got a lot of time for Derek Lively. I like that type of high energy, high octane game, again, without particularly needing the ball. So 22 minutes, 12 rebounds, 1 steal, 11 points. In saying all of that, I 100% understand why he was taken out of the rotation or out of the starting lineup because he wasn't playing that well. And I think at one point there was some statistic that he had more fouls than points or something silly like that. So he's
Yeah,
had a tough series so far.
he has.
So
He's a rookie, so he's gonna have to learn those lessons.
yeah. So this is a good time. So we found a card ladder player versus player. Porzingis versus Derek Lively. So on the left-hand side, we've got the 2015 Prism Gold to 10, BGS 9.5,
Mm-hmm.
or the 2023 Derek Lively Gold Shimmer to 10, PSA 10. The Porzingis sold for 2,000, the Lively sold for 3,050. What would you go for and why?
Whew. I'll take the Lively. He has the rest of his career ahead of him.
Yeah, that to me is all about future potential. And the
Yeah,
fact that someone is happy to pay 1,000 over the Porzingis
yeah.
for that future potential. I like the Porzingis. It's $1,000 cheaper, so in my head I've still got $1,000 to
Mm,
spend, and I feel like his resume is a bit more padded out. And
mm.
even though he's a walking popsicle and an injury report just waiting to happen,
Injury
I think Lively's
report.
good, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm not too sure where his hobby ceiling plays out to.
True.
Like, how many high energy center guys are people, chasing for, down the line? On the flip
All
side, if you
these
can
bigs
get,
that it's all these bigs that we keep propping up, and we know the history of bigs is not good.
yeah, but if you can get, say, a silver lively rookie card for $5 or $10 out of a
Oh
dollar
hell
bin
yeah!
for pocket change, I think that's a really good buy. But do
I'm
I
in for
think
that.
spending 3,000 on that? I think that's going to be tough to flip out in the roll out in the future. I'm
Oh,
changing my use of flip
hang
to
on.
roll.
I've got something for you. I've got something for you. Friend of the show, Joe Fu, Shaq
Yeah,
Fu 32 messaged me the other day. Said, "Great recent episode.
yeah.
Instead of flip, I've been using trade up or cash in instead of roll, flop, or whatever you decide to use. Trade up or cash in.
Trade up. Yeah,
Okay, trade up is a yeah. Okay,
doesn't sound as dirty, does it? Than flip.
yeah. Cash in.
I still don't mind roll, to be honest.
I don't know how you roll a square, something with square edges. That's my only qualm. I'm going to die on that hill, especially if it's a die cut. Could you imagine that? How many dings you'd get in the anyway? Yes, thanks for the great feedback, Shaq Fu.
Alrighty, time for our last break, and then we'll come back and we'll have some odds and ends for us to run through. Thank you for coming back. We are back.
We're back. Ready for the home stretch.
Yeah. Right. Listener question. This is from Anthony Mills. So, Anthony, thank you so much for this. We had a lot of engagement on this post, so we really appreciate you asking this question. And the question timing is beautiful too. So, if the finals was a live stock exchange at this point, who does everyone have gaining dollars with? Luka dominating, but the Mavs are down 2. So obviously this was after game 2. And
Yeah.
Tatum having an average final so far, but Boston are up. Adam, how would you answer this question?
I'd have my stock in Brown.
Yeah.
I'd be buying Brown. Yep.
Yep.
That said, the Luka the LUK stocks are dropping, and would it be TAT if you're going to abbreviate it for like stock exchange terminology? You put TAT for Tatum, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I'd be
You went deep on this nerd angle there, Ad. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be on the
So what's Luka? LUK?
LUK, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your boy?
Derek White.
Yeah.
Ooh.
WHI?
Ooh. Not sure.
I didn't think this would perplex you that much.
DRK.
Actually.
Just DRK.
Okay.
Derek. Yeah.
All right.
DRK. Yep. I'd be on the BRO. Bro stocks all the way, man. Bro stocks on Jaylen Brown.
Bros would be loving it. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Shall we go to the comments from the listeners?
Yeah. So I agree with you. Brown's going up. I think Luka is coming down, but he should be on your watch list for stocks.
Okay, you should have him on the watch list.
These blue chip stocks, you need to buy them when they're on the down,
Yep, that's fair. Who have we got? Jaylen. Yeah, Ryan Miller agrees. Jaylen Brown, question mark. Boston wins. Tatum isn't getting finals MVP. Yeah.
I reckon Tatum gets Finals MVP.
Really?
Yeah, I find it really hard to believe that people won't vote for him.
Interesting. I've got at the moment I've got Jaylen Brown. I don't see Tatum being better than Brown in this series.
Okay.
But I understand why you might think.
Yeah. And look, if Brown gets it, I actually have no problem with it. But at the same time, for me, they're so close together that it just makes sense. They'll just vote for Tatum because he's the big guy, you know.
I'm happy to put Luka on my watch list, by the way, but I'm not buying it. The opportunity to buy Luka, long gone. Like Adam say anything positive to say about Luka prices, forget it. We're done.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not winning a championship. So I'm reverting to my what has this guy won aside from the Western Conference
and
award.
Particularly after this series, right? When you've got Tatum at a cheaper price who's achieved more for his career. Yep. I actually agree with you now. So yeah.
Yeah. He's sort of done his dash in my eyes there. Yeah. What else have we got?
Luke Batterson. We'll see how Dallas goes with the next 2 games at home. Luka not getting much support with the Celtics. Everyone's contributing. And that's actually, we should have just read that and that's the podcast done, really, hey?
That's the summary. So that we'll just copy and paste that as the show summary.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Yeah. Luka not getting much support. Celtics with everyone contributing. It's true. As I keep saying, Derek White, 15 points as that 5th guy on the team.
That's why they're winning the championship, obviously.
That's it. The role players. We got Jono Michaels, Luka cards rising. The guys literally bandaged together and dominating.
I think Jono has quite a hard on for Luka, though. I think we've already established that.
I think Jono needs to get off the pain meds. Luka needs them more than you at the moment.
Shots fired. Aram Bottoms. Dallas are only in the finals to the late season acquisitions of Washington and Gafford. Agree 100% there. They were floundering before that and seem to have gelled and pushed forward. Personally, I don't see Luka winning chips. He is super talented, don't get me wrong, but he's a white James Harden. We're not going to get into that, okay? I'll read it out, but we are not going to break this down. His game is built around ball domination and step back jumpers, which is true. I think he measured and replicated a lot of Harden's moves. And in fact, probably was like the next generation of. As for injuries, really, wait till he plays with Iverson and Kobe type injuries before it affects his game. Yeah, it's true. There's been some.
Yep. All right, who's next? Matthew Hull. All right. Your biggest winner here is Derek Lively. Win or lose, that bloke is going to gets a KD heights for a tall man. He is
wow. Good. We know who's buying up all the Derek Lively at the moment. We know who bought that shimmer
$3,000 the shimmer. That's it.
Matthew Hull. I'm not sure I'm with this take about KD and Lively in the same sentence. I think the other comparison to Lively has been Tyson Chandler.
I was going to say JaVale McGee, but
yeah, I think he's a bit more sensible than JaVale McGee. So I think he's somewhere between Tyson Chandler and KD. Yeah,
fair. He's got the Sideshow Bob hair though.
Ivan Dizon. Tatum is focused on distributing and letting the others take the shot. Yeah, he's been amazing distributing. Mm-hmm. He is frustratingly inconsistent when it comes to points in big games and moments, particularly if you're gambling on his points lines, which we haven't discussed in a couple of games too with the points lines, have we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Matthew Hull has another comment. Brown has to grow and Pingers get a bump. Yeah. Tatum gets a tiny bump at this stage, but reality is he has to get MVP.
For it to be more than 2x. And yeah, that's your future prices guarantee that you've been talking about. You know what's really interesting about what Matthew just had, and pretty much everyone, no one has actually touched on the fact that these big dogs have gone down between 10 and 35%.
No, everybody seems to just think they're just going to keep going upwards.
But actually the reality is quite different. Yeah.
Is it in line, but is that in line with hobby trends? Or is it
That's
just
not the first time I've seen that happening. So we probably need to look into this a bit deeper, actually, and see if we can pinpoint some data. Yeah. Scotty Thompson, Tatum is overrated. I don't know. Is he overrated?
I don't think so.
He's been getting better. I tell you what Tatum has been copping is a whole lot of criticism pretty much after every single game. And he's been playing really good basketball. Hey, we missed your quote.
Oh, we can go back to that. We can
Let's go back to it now. I think now's as good of a time as ever.
Well, there's one more comment here, so I'll go that. Dallas is
You do
playing
that,
with house
and then
money.
yeah.
Dallas, and they're playing with the house money. They are 2 years away, in my opinion. This is from Jay Braun. Jaylen Brown, Jrue, and KP all going very well.
Yep. Except it's impossible to track Jrue Holiday because he's not on card letter. Card letter, get your act together. Get Jrue Holiday on you.
What would Porzingis' stock code be? 3-letter stock code. KPZ.
ZIN. Zinger.
Zing.
Yeah.
Yeah, ZIN. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Alrighty. Who said this? Brian Windhorse or Adam Amy? If Luka's ever going to be a winner, he's going to have to use the finals as a learning experience. His defensive performance is unacceptable. He is a hole on the court. He is costing his team because of how he treats the officials. Adam, did you or did you not say this on live TV on ESPN?
I feel like I'm being paraphrased. I hold Brian Windhorst accountable.
You should sue this guy. You should sue his pants off.
That's it. He's paraphrasing me.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But yeah, for all those that thought I'd gone soft on Luka now, forget it. We're done. Yeah, he's not winning this year. We're back to him being overvalued for what he's achieved.
Yeah. Alrighty. I think we got time to run through this. We've got about 4 minutes left. So let's...
All right.
WNBA. This is from @Joe Pompliano. I hope I said that right. The WNBA has released a report saying attendance is up 156%.
Mm-hmm.
400,000 fans have attended WNBA games this season, filling arenas to 94% capacity. Televised games are averaging 1.32 million viewers, which is triple last year's.
Yep.
WNBA Countdown is averaging 740,000 viewers, a 211% increase.
Incredible.
Online merchandise has already set a season record with 4 months left to go in the season. Sales are up 756%. Social media is going through the roof. League Pass is up 355%. So basically, to summarize that in one sentence, business is booming. Now, let us go forward. Awesome. I think you might enjoy this story. Caitlin Clark has not been named to the Team USA team. Now, allegedly, the veterans of the Team USA team got together in like a hotel room over some drinks and had a powwow and decided that they don't want Caitlin Clark on the team, right? So have you heard a similar NBA story to this off the top of your head? I'm thinking about the Dream Team here.
You're thinking about the fact that certain people weren't going to play for the Dream Team if a certain
Isaiah Thomas was named.
A certain Zeke was going to suit up. Yeah.
Tell me, there's not some commonality here.
There's no way that Caitlin Clark's the next Isaiah Thomas. Oh no.
They definitely don't like her though.
But it is. There's a big powwow in a bit. Like there have been people that said if she goes, I'm not. And there'll be veterans that don't like it as much as everybody didn't like Christian Laettner being on the Dream Team.
Yeah. So speaking of some hate towards Caitlin Clark, let's talk about some hobby love for Caitlin Clark. So this is from data from Card Ladder. This is from Caitlin Clark's index. So this is from Twitter @MTT Trading number 2. Yep. And what they've pictured here is basically her index going up and down. So she was at about 1,000 for her index, and it dropped all the way down to sort of 450, 500. And then as the regular season's kicked off, she's all the way back up again there. So you can see there's been a heap of hobby movement around Caitlin Clark. So obviously people love her. In terms of her popularity for in-games, against the Washington Mystics, they had to move her game from a 4,200 capacity arena to a 20,356. And they sold out those extra 16,000 seats in 30 minutes. So,
wow.
Caitlin Clark is just...
She is putting bums on seats.
Yep.
Yeah. All eyes are on the league. This is amazing.
Yeah. So I think from my sort of personal perspective on this is that the Caitlin Clark good cards haven't even come out yet. So her Prism release hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
Now, she's signing for Fanatics and she's also signing for Panini. So, and Panini still holds the WNBA rights. So when Panini Prism comes up for WNBA, The last couple of years, it's been selling for about 300, 320 AUD.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some people offline about this the last couple of days because breaks at the moment have been very slow, but
Steady.
The people that go in them really enjoy them. They like the value, all that type of stuff. But what if then the boxes go to $600 Aussie? What happens then? And you can actually imagine that happening because of, like we just spoken about the popularity. We spoke about the card indexes. We spoke about some of the prices. So I think this is where I'm in a very not good place with this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at $300, it's kind of good, right? But if it goes to 600, is it actually terrible? Yeah. And then you're just hoping, just like NBA, you're hoping you get a big hit out of a box just basically to break even. So I'm sort of looking into this space in a little bit of a Andrew gaze into the future, wait and see type thing. But
you don't want the hype to impact the experience. Because it will. It'll
I think it's going to happen. I think it's
I
a done
don't think it's
deal.
avoidable if you've got this much attention, I guess.
Yeah, and she is feeling massive arenas. Like it's amazing.
If you're moving venues to accommodate for the capacity, then
final thoughts, Ad. What do you got for me?
Final thoughts on Caitlin Clark.
Life in general. How would you like to finish the show?
How would I like to finish the show?
Yeah.
Well, I would have liked to see. Actually, no. I'm glad we didn't get the broom out in Dallas, and we get to talk about Game 5 and the end of the NBA Finals next week.
Yep.
Which I'm pretty sure we will be talking about.
I hope so.
I can't imagine that we'll be going, oh no, Game 7's tomorrow.
What's your prediction for Game 5?
Boston by a comfortable margin.
Okay.
By like that 20 to 25 point. I think everyone will get a run. I think there'll just be a point where, I don't think Luka and Kyrie are going to give up, but the writing's on the wall. If Boston get a lead in the Garden, it's going to get loud. And
I think from a product point of view, I really want Dallas to win one more game because that will really shake some cages and get some people nervous. I think it'll make Boston nervous.
That's not going to happen. There's no way they're losing on their home floor.
They just need one game just to really upset the apple cart.
If that happens, we're going to get 12-point Boston Kyrie back.
Maybe, but from my perspective as an NBA, lover,
Luka
like,
to
that
drop
would just be
70
amazing.
or something and just...
What if Kyrie gets 50 in Boston?
Tatum will get 60.
All right, let's go.
No, Derek White will get a 40-piece. There we go.
Okay. All right, yeah. This is my best outcome is that the Mavericks win the next game and then it just becomes a genuinely hard
interesting series.
Yeah. All righty, guys. Let's shout out to Central Coast Radio. Somehow we forgot to do that. centralcoastradio.com. Check them out. We will be on at 10 a.m. to 12 on Thursdays.
That's our regular slot, isn't it?
If you're a late night person, 11 p.m. Melbourne time on Tuesday nights to 1 a.m. We have basketball infused with music. So basically, Adam and I just take turns at picking tunes. Every week, the playlist is different. So if you like basketball, you like music, definitely come and check it out. Also, if you want to check out the other content on Central Coast Radio, it's all content just like us, homegrown content. People who are just passionate about things that they do. They've got all sorts of different topics, movies, country music, dance music, the whole sort of, box and dice. So thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Thank you, Adam, for a lovely evening as always. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Look forward to next week.
Peace.
See you all.